Hello and welcome back to episode 12 of Getting Started with Mantra, Rendering and Shading. And in this chapter, I really wanted to talk about the additional noise controls, how you can control the noise, inputs, outputs, using the basic math operations. I mean, don't get scared, nothing elaborate or super hard there. Maybe some sine functions, tangent functions, and controlling it using different noises to create things like wet mops, kind of like sci-fi patterns, and other effects. And at the beginning, I'll talk about the rest position and how you can use that to control your noises and to stop the noises from swimming through your geometry. So let's get started. Let's first talk about the rest position and how it affects noises, because we have always used the rest position, but I accidentally or just didn't take the time to explain how the rest position affects the noises essentially. So as you can see in this scene, we have only the tube and the environment light without anything, just with the light intensity 0.5, and that's it. Nothing is happening, sort of like your Seinfeld episode. So let's discuss how the rest position actually works and what it does. So I start by typing rest position, and then I'm gonna add the noise for this. Let's say anti-alias noise will work just fine, because all I want is kind of to make a metallic looking tube that is going to have roughness going around the diameter of the tube. So it kind of looks like something that has been working inside the machine. So I connect the rest position to position of the noise. Everything is pretty much what you expect at this point. We'll create a principal shader that we will use later. Now, as we can see, well, basically we have the tube. I will adjust the camera so it looks a bit better. So I drag and drop the AA noise, and voila, result as expected. Now, let's see. So to create those going around the diameter tear and wear roughness differences for our metallic thing, I think we have to go and increase the roughness here, and we will have to tweak the frequency. So let's see. Okay, this frequency possibly should be 0.1. In the y-axis 1, in the z-axis 0.1. Okay, fantastic. Actually, let's multiply that by 10. So this should be 1. Whoops. This should be 10. This should be 10. I apologize. This should be 1 as well. Roughness, amplitude. Yeah, this looks kind of okay. Will work for now. Let's see, maybe simplex will be better. No, it's actually, let's make this frequency 100. Okay, finally we have what I have in mind. All right. Now, if I make this a metallic roughness, we connect the noise to the roughness right now. Let me see. Drag and drop. Whoops, accidentally double click the principal shader. If I drag and drop the principal shader, now we will have the metallic that has tear and wear going around the radius. Let's see. Okay. Sorry. And obviously the environment light doesn't work well in this scenario. So I'll go to the HDRI, possibly lean on. So basically, to see what's happening with our metals, we have to have something to reflect. And in this case, I think this Skylit Garage will be even better. All right, so you start seeing the effect, right? So the roughness difference goes basically on the radius of our geometry. Let me just zoom in a little bit better so you see what I'm talking about. Maybe the video compression will ruin the effects, but you see it, right? Those little lines that go from left to right, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is a really simple effect, but really useful for a hard surface like landing gear or, I don't know, hexapod. They have all these differences in roughness all the time. So far so good, right? I will just zoom out and drag and drop our AA noise back on our geometry so we can see what is happening now. If I go to the object and I select my tube and make transformations, and I start to rotate our tube, look what happens. So our noise, it still generates the noise pattern going like around the y-axis, but it doesn't take into account the very fact that we have rotated our geometry. And what I want to really have to be happening is that noise rotates with the geometry, right? Because let's say we assemble something and well, basically this does not look really realistic for, let's say, hexapod. Let's talk about the hexapod for in this situation. So before the transformation, what we gotta have is the rest position. So rest position defines where initially, what's the state of the points initially was before the transformations. So now that we put the rest position between the transform, as you can see, it evaluates the noise correctly. Without it, by the way, pressing this yellow button will bypass with, without, with. So as you can see, if you have like this effect of noise swimming around with your geometry and you're like, I want to animate my things, but noise stays at where it was. It's ridiculous. This is the solution, okay? All right, let's just drag and drop principles. Whoops, again, accidentally double click. Something is wrong with me today. And the effect stays just like we want it. Of course, if you want to effect be more pronounced, as per usual, drop the ramp, increase the contrast, tweak the gamma, and yeah, there you go. The effect is exactly what I was going for. And thankfully, hopefully, this will kind of give you the idea how to work with a rest position and why we have to use it and how to use it in the object level. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about more ways to control our noises. So I will disable the tube, and I think I will disable the environment map as well, because we actually don't need this. And we will talk about the grid noise. I will adjust my camera so we'll look directly at the grid. Go to render view, press the render, go to our materials, and let's move it away. Let's say principal shader, grid noise. Okay, we drag and drop it here. Now, what I want to say, talk about right now is controlling the noises. Again, rest position, nothing new here. And then we go to, let's say, I don't know, turbulent noise for now. And as you can see, we have the position, we have the frequency, offset, amplification, roughness, attenuation, and all these things, including turbulence. So as you can see, again, we can, of course, tweak all the things. You can see the difference. But as you might have already noticed, there are inputs to the noise. We can control not just using the sliders, which is, well, it works, all is fine, like frequency and what have you. So basically zoom in, zoom out of our noise. This is all fine, right? But we can actually control it, all these inputs using math and noise. So let's see what we have. So let's say I hold down the Alt key, left click, left drag the turbulent noise node to create the copy. Again, nothing new here. We talked about it later, previously. Now I'll go to the turbulent noise, and now I can, using this noise, I can actually drive the, let's say, frequency. And as you can see, immediately we have a different result. Now this frequency actually is a bit ridiculous. So let's say we can go to original Perlin noise, simplex noise. And here it looking kind of strange because noise evaluates numbers based on the position. And I think this is the center of our world, which is 0, so nothing interesting happening there. Now I'll just hold down the Y key and left mouse drag to delete this. Now what we can also do is get it into the offset, and of course we can tweak the roughness, we can tweak the offset amplification. As you can see already, what is happening is that if we decrease the amplitude, nothing is happening. But if we increase the amplitude, it starts to warp. It starts to warp our noise. As you can see, I'm making it kind of slow so you can see, but if I drag, you can see the warping effect, right? So the amplitude, so 1 gives it really warped. If we increase the roughness, let me see. If we increase the roughness, it kind of starts to look like wetness map. For example, this noise will work really great for, I don't know, ground. If you have like a asphalt after rain, this will work really fine. So basically what you can do, let me just actually showcase it. What you can do is drive this into ramp. So I'll just be talking and showing what's happening. So we drive this noise into ramp, get this into roughness, drag and drop here, change our view. So we kind of look at this, at it like this. What else? Go into the objects, change our environment lights so it again represents something a bit better, like this lean on thing. And as you can see, we are starting to have some results, but this is again not exactly what I was going for. So first I will invert the effects by dragging sliders in and out, and already you can see what I was talking about, right? So kind of like the ground wet maps sort of thing. So this will work really great. So what is happening is I invert the noise, and wherever it was black, it became looking, how do you call it? Sort of like the really polished surface. So now what I can do is I copied this ramp by holding down the Alt key, change it to ramp 3, and I'm gonna make what was polished, like without any roughness, I'll make it metallic so it becomes a perfect mirror. Again, to make it metallic, it should be 1, so I drag and drop this slider to the right, so anything that was rough was left on the left, and everything that was with a perfectly polished surface became metallic. Again, controlled by this noise. So if I drag and drop this ramp now into the metallic, should be looking like kind of puddles. So there you go. This is kind of like the easy setup for kind of asphalt or what have you. So basically, if you decrease the color to some lower number, and maybe if you add some normals that will be masked out using again this mask, you can get the effects of kind of ground with puddles, and you get the idea, right? Of course, this again is really interesting for different roughness, imperfections, and all that good stuff. Okay, let's get back and look at our grid from top to bottom. What else can we do? Now, let's, instead of using turbulent noise, in this case, let's start using Wally noise. Actually, I have a little bit of setup on the right, so let's again move our environment lights. here, and we have the whirlies. Now, in this case, I have this formation, and I want to turn off the noise and grids and the sphere. So, you know, daily Instagram setup kind of deal. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's, you know, it took me a couple of seconds to set up this thing using the copy node and scatter node. So yeah, let's assume this kind of looks like a, I don't know, abstract geometry kind of deal. Okay, and we will create another noise. Let's create another, what is it? Principal shader. Let's call it abstract geo. And again, rest position. And now I will be using Wally noise. So this is gonna be kind of interesting starting now. All right, so if I just get the rest position into position and drag and drop it into our geometry, this is nothing new. We discussed it in the, I think, chapter 4. So you can see we have this wavy kind of structure going on, but as you can see, the whirly noise has the distance 1, distance 2, and as you can see, this cutter has 2 points or 4 points. So basically the distance 3 and 4 will not work if you have the 4 points not enabled. So I'll enable back the 2 points because we will work just with distance 2 and 1. So now what I'm going to do is press the tab and get into the subtract. So subtract does what it says. It negates one result into another. So I'll pipe the distance 2 into the subtract, drag and drop subtract. As you can see, distance 1 looks like this, distance 2 looks like this. Okay, but if we negate distance 1 out of distance 2, we will see this. So it kind of looks like a whirly noise, but I'm sorry, not whirly noise, but what is it called? I forgot the naming, just whatever. I apologize. My brain shut down. I forgot how the cellular noise, I think. Yeah, I was thinking cellular noise. My bad. So we have this cellular noise set up. Now, what can we do? It kind of looks already interesting, right? So the benefits of using like the noises to create to control your materials, shaders, and what have you, is that against triplanar, I mean, is that the noises will always look different depending on your position, whereas the triplanar, at some point, it will start to repeat itself. Now, of course, you can tweak the positions of triplanar projections and blah, 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 and maybe have different masks. You can layer down the triplanars, which is all good and fun, but noises, generally speaking, they retain the pattern, but they never repeat themselves. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so this noise looks like, actually, if you have ever used like Substance Designer or whatever, this looks like base shapes for creating rocks, right? So if I were to displace our geometry, it will kind of look like a rock material, but that's not the goal of this video. So we will talk about the noises right now instead of displacement, because we already have a video on displacement. All right, enough of blabbering. So I'll press the tab, and actually we can use the sine function. Well, what sine function does, it converts everything into 0 to 1. If you have studied in the school, you pretty much know what sine does. So essentially the signature is float or vector. If we pipe it here, it will automatically should convert to 3D vector, and as you can see, the result is different. So if I make, if I make the snap, and if I now pipe through mitigating the sine, you can see we already have the difference. So this is with the sine function, without the sine function. It kind of looks kind of like sci-fi pattern, right? In my opinion, of course, opinions may vary, but in my opinion, it kind of looks like sci-fi pattern. Now, of course, you can use the tangent, so you can use the cosine. These functions are all available inside the WAP networks of Houdini. So let's see how tangent will work. It will produce weird result for sure, and obviously Yep, my prediction was pretty much accurate. Okay, this is tangent, so basically sine is really interesting. Again, what we are doing right now is, as you can see, we are making the noise believe that the actual position is not the position that we had, but the positions we fake them. We make noise believe that the sine function that results from the rest position is actually the position. So this is why the results are different. Okay, you might be thinking, well, this is fun. What else can be done, right? So let's say I create another copy of whirly noise, and this one will be, let's say, Manhattan, because this Manhattan, again, looks like something that has been created by some maybe human-made or something artificial, right? Okay, so we have this Manhattan. Let's, in our case, it's Chebyshev, and we tweak the frequency to see it a bit better. And now we can use the Manhattan here, and the distance one will look like this. Let me drag and drop. Okay, so now this can be the position, which will make it look really interesting. And it can also be the frequency. And as you can see, the frequency generates a really interesting result. If we go to Chebyshev, as you can see, it becomes more kind of like geometry controlled Manhattan. It's kind of like the more diamond pattern inside it, and the Euclidean will be like the wavy structures, as you can see. Now, the frequency is one of the most controlling things of the noise that you can pipe. So for example, if I have like anti-alias noise once more, let's see, and Perlin works well. Again, I will make it absolute because it can produce negative results, and I pipe the rest position to position, and I pipe the absolutes into the frequency, and it will drastically change the noise. As you can see, it retains the characteristic of the position of the noise, but the pattern of the noise is fully controlled by the noise itself. So if we decrease the octaves, as you can see, we have this wavy structure. Roughness obviously increases the roughness. We talked about that previously. So as you can see, we have this kind of gradient-ish structure. So if we now get it into, I don't know, into the ramp 4, distance into input, this into base color, and we pipe the base color. We pipe the principal shader into our geometry. We should look, we should see the differences. And let's say this should be yellow. This should be, let's see, I don't know, blue. So there you go. As you can see, we have this wavy structure thing going through our noise. And of course, if I connect back the distance to the frequency of the whirly noise 3, we will have start seeing some sort of like this artificial thing. Now this can be kind of mundane if we pipe it into the base color, but what we can do is create an emission color with some like a sci-fi electricity kind of color, and this ramp, which should be actually black and white. Let's see, this is black, this is white. All right, and we pipe that into the emission intensity. So this will now control how our emission works, and as you can see, it does what it says. So I increase the, if it's too much, increase the contrast, and there you go. So actually, since we are having this emits, we can get to our environment lights, delete these environments, decrease the intensity, and there you go. Some sort of like sci-fi-ish way of illuminating your structures. Okay, so as a final thing, obviously, as you can see, like if we have this offset and we already learned that we have the noise, we can drive the noise using the offset as well. So we piped noise, which was anti-alias noise, into the offset, and I think the ramp kills the effect a bit. So let me just dial it down. What we should be seeing. Oh, okay. We should increase the octaves. And as you can see, we are indeed offsetting the noise by the amount of generated. We offset the whirly noise by amount of the anti-alias noise generated amount. So again, we can tweak this by amplitude to control the effects of the offset. And as you can see, it's kind of start like kind of like a wavy structure, you know, but yeah, let's leave it at that. Final thing, another interesting kind of easy trick really that you can use is just multiply the positions. For now, I'll just multiply constant, pull it into the position again. We will make the noise believe that these positions are the positions that are real. So if I make it 10, as you will see in a second, the frequency remains the same, but the amounts of repetitions of the pattern inside the frequency will change, like by the amount of 10. As you can see, indeed, this is what is happening. So again, I think we should increase the contrast to see our things better. Hopefully my computer will not explode. Whoops. Okay, so I am increasing contrast to the point of having these kind of structures. I actually really like the difference of noise happening here, so I want that to be dialed back a bit. So as you can see, like if now let's give it a couple of seconds to evaluate. So basically, if we have like this button and you make it like the multiplier of, I don't know, let's push it to 50, you will see in a second that the repetitions inside will increase drastically by basically the pattern itself remains the same, right? But the amount of repetitions driven by the noise, it's different. And it's now multiplied by 50. So let's make it a bit more reasonable, like 5. And indeed, what we have is this kind of like glowing things. Now, if I drag this again, where is it, to my sphere again, you will see that sphere gets the same pattern, and we sort of have this, I don't know, sci-fi thing, I guess. Hopefully it looks like something, but you know how it goes, right? You can start tweaking anything you want at this rate, and using the new things that we just learned, using the noises. So yeah, if noise has an input, it means you can control it, and you can drive the input noise using any other input, even if the input is noise as well. So there you go. Play with these. It's really interesting, especially generating the wet maps kind of thing, faking, and try yourself at understanding how the rest position works and how to make the noise stick to the geometry. And with that said, hopefully you'll have fun. Hopefully this was not too intimidating for you. And see you next videos. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you don't want to miss anything else, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to share your ideas in the comments below. I'll try to read them all and respond if needed. With that said, have fun and have a nice day. See you in the next videos.